Well, all right. Welcome back to As It Should Be. Paul Berlino here in the world famous As It Should Be archives. Yeah, and well, today I've decided I'm going to do an album ranking. I'm going to be ranking the 12 studio albums of Thin Lizzy. Yeah, I've been wanting to do a Thin Lizzy album ranking video for quite a while, and well, today's the day. I'm doing it right now. I have all of my Thin Lizzy albums in one place. I had some of them over in the world famous As Should Be Studios, some here in the archives. I brought them all together here, so I can show them all on camera here. One little problem. I seem to be missing Chinatown. I had Chinatown. I had it. I don't know where it went, but it's not here. So when it comes time to show that one, I'll have to do a pop-up. But otherwise, I have everything here. And, I don't know, let's get right on this. Let's rank the Thin Lizzy albums, okay? All right, it's coming in number 12, the bottom of the list. Shades of a Blue Orphanage. Yeah, the second Thin Lizzy album from 1972. This is the one non-OG album I have. This is a 2015 reissue. It's a really nice reissue though. Like, gatefold, tip-on jacket. The old Decca label there and everything. A little booklet inside. Really great reissue. This is the only one from this reissue series that I have. Just because I have, because I have OGs of the other ones. But this album, this kind of has always been my least favorite. It's kind of gone back and forth between this and one that I'll talk about later. But really, this has kind of always been it. Now, it opens up really strong. Yeah, it opens up really, really strong. Let's get my glasses here. It opens up really strong with the rise and dear demise of the funky nomadic tribes. And that's like a 7-minute track that's pretty, proto-Thin Lizzy, sort of. You know what I mean? It sort of looks ahead to the more rockin' Thin Lizzy that we get later on. For the most part, that's not what we have here. Side 1 is I'm not that into most of the tracks on side 1. Side 2 is where all the action is on this. I feel like this is a very backloaded album. Yeah, side 2 is a strong area for this. And I don't dislike any Thin Lizzy album, but this is definitely my least favorite. All right, it's coming in number 11. An album that I'm sure you probably rate higher because I think a lot of people really, really love this one. Me, not so much, relatively speaking. Again, no bad Thin Lizzy albums, but this is my number 11. Thunder and Lightning, yeah, from 1983. The final Thin Lizzy album. The final proper Thin Lizzy album. Now, this album, I really love the first 3 tracks on this a lot. But then it really just kind of goes downhill from there for me. I mean, the crappy 80s production with the scooped mids and the shrill processed guitar tones and the 80s guitar squeal, etc. It's just like, It's not my vibe, man. That's not my Thin Lizzy. And I know you metal dudes just fucking love this, but that's because their Thin Lizzy have sort of conformed to that sound that was so big in the 80s. And the thing about that for me is that's not Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy is not a metal band. It just, once they do that, they're just sort of becoming followers and they're doing whatever is the current thing in a desperate hope to have a hit album. And does not work for me, man. But my favorite track on this album, though, I do have a favorite track. This Is the One is my favorite track on this album. But yeah, this is not a bad album. I mean, I don't dislike this album at all, but definitely one of my least favorites. All right, it's coming to number 10. Thin Lizzy, the debut album from 1971. I think this is a pretty damn good album. I like this. I think it's much better than the second album. The second album may have been a sophomore slump. I don't know. But maybe you guys don't agree that one's not as good. I think the first album's much better. And, it's a bit of hard rock, a bit of psych, a bit of psych folk, etc. And I love the mellotrons on Honesty Is No Excuse, and Diddy Levine gives like sort of an early indication of the classic Thin Lizzy sound to come. Look What the Wind Blew In is a really good guitar rocker. It has a little bit of an early indication of that harmonizing guitar sound to come. And Saga the Aging Orphan has a little bit of a 60s Grateful Dead vibe. There's a lot of really good stuff on this, and the cover's cool too, and I love that picture of them on the back. Yeah, this is the U.S. version of the album. The one on what is it on there? It's on London. On London. I don't have a UK. This is an original US copy, and not a bad copy. The spine's a little rough, but otherwise it's pretty good. No ring wear, and the record's in great shape. And the record is great. First Thin Lizzy album. Right, it's coming to number 9. Chinatown. Yeah, giving you a pop-up because I can't find my vinyl copy of this. Anyway, this album came out from 1980, and I've always kind of considered this to be just past the classic period. For me, the classic period goes, I guess, really, if I'm going to be really ruthless about it, Fighting to Black Rose. Everything before that is sort of, not quite there yet, and everything after that is a little past the prime there. But, Chinatown, the thing about Chinatown is I really like the sound of it. It still has that sound of a good Thin Lizzy album. I love the way that, just the recording sonically, and just the way the band sounds, and the way the drums are recorded, the way the guitar sounds, the vibe of it and everything. It's just like a good classic Thin Lizzy album. I just don't think the songs are as good. I don't think the songs are as good on Chinatown as on, Johnny the Fox or Jailbreak or any of these kind of, or Bad Reputation or any of like the really classic albums. The songs are a little bit more forgettable. It's almost like the presence of Thin Lizzy in that regard. I'm just like, every time I listen to it, I like it. I like the way it sounds. I just don't think the songs are strong, and then I forget the songs after I listen to it. So it's weird. I have it above the first album, even though in a lot of ways I kind of like the first album more, but I just like the overall sound and vibe of this one a little more than the first one. So it's a little tricky. It's a little tricky getting those ranked. So anyway, yeah, so Chinatown at number 9. All right, it's coming in number 8. Vagabonds of the Western World. Yeah, the third Thin Lizzy album. Man, things start really getting good with this album. I mean, this has The Rocker. I mean, come on, The Rocker is probably the first just truly classic Thin Lizzy track. I mean, obviously Whiskey in a Jar is from the same era and also is one of the Stone Cold classics, but it's not on this album. It was just a single. But yeah, I mean, the Rocker and the title track are pretty much straight up proper classic era Thin Lizzy. The Hero and the Madman, with all the spoken word parts and stuff, is probably the weakest track on the album for my money. And, it's the second song on the album, and it's the longest, so it kind of has a very adverse effect on the overall album. It kind of has the same issue with Shades of a Blue Orphanage, which the second song kind of fucks with that album as well. I mean, but also like Shades of a Blue Orphanage, I think the second half of this album is the strongest, but and not quite as much as the second album. I mean, overall, this is a much stronger album for me. This is an OG US copy. I believe it's on. Yeah, this is on London, and it's a little worn. It's not a bad copy, but it's not a great copy. I kind of want to get the new reissue that just came out, where they redid the cover. They kind of did this kind of cool sort of variation on the cover art and has bonus tracks and things. I need to try to get that because it looks really awesome. But yeah, Vagabonds in the Western World, and my favorite track on this, The Rocker. I mean, yeah, I know that's like Thin Lizzy for dummies, but like really obvious choice, but come on, like that isn't an absolutely badass track. Yeah, The Rocker, of course, my favorite track. All right, it's coming in number 7, Renegade. Yeah, from 1981. Now, I used to kind of lump this in with Thunder and Lightning. There was a time when I kind of thought, those last two albums, Thunder and Lightning and Renegade, they're both bad metal albums. I don't like either of them. I don't know what I was thinking when I went kind of recently back to this one when I was getting ready to do this ranking. I hadn't listened to this in a long time. It's like, damn, this record is really good. Like, the songs are really strong. It doesn't have that sort of processed mid-80s metal sound that Thunder and Lightning has. It just has, it's a really heavy, it's one of the heaviest Thin Lizzy albums, but with just great songs all over it, and it just still has that really good sound to it. And, in fact, there's a really great deep track on this. My favorite track is a total deep track, buried deep on side 2, and it's a song called Fats. Yeah, Fats. That's my favorite song on this record. On an album full of really great songs. I feel like the songwriting kind of fell off on Chinatown, but it is back with a vengeance on this album. Great album. Renegade. Long since underrated by me, but you know what? I have seen the light. I have seen the light. I was wrong. Renegade. All right, it's coming to number 6. You got a bad reputation. Yeah, from 1977, Bad Reputation. Brian Robertson needs to be on the front cover with this, but that's my only complaint. But man, what a classic album this is. He's actually on the back cover. That's kind of odd. They have him on the back, don't have him on the front. Well, he was kind of in and out at the time, you know. They had, he and Phil Lynott were not getting along, and he got kicked out of the band. Then they got him back in the band, and he's on some of the album, and he's not on other parts of the album. And then he was back for the tour, and then he was out again. Whatever. Just put him on the cover. He's on the album. We all love Robbo. Put him on the cover. But you know what? Such a great record. And the inner sleeve. I love the inner sleeve with all the pictures. A nice heavy, thick cardstock sleeve too. Yeah, this is such a great Thin Lizzy record. And talk about the classic period. I mean, this is right in the middle of the absolute stone cold classic period. Oh man. But Bad Reputation. What else you want me to say about this? It's fucking Bad Reputation. All right, it's coming in number 5. Nightlife. Yeah, the 4th Thin Lizzy album, which came out in 1974. This album's really interesting because I feel like it's like a stopgap between two different Thin Lizzys. You know what I mean? It isn't really. It's kind of on an island all its own. There's no other Thin Lizzy album that sounds like this. You have the first 3 albums that are kind of in a particular bag, although the third one is a little heavier than the first couple. And then you have from Fighting after this onward, where Thin Lizzy is like, the classic, more hard rockin' Thin Lizzy that you know. This kind of sits in the middle somewhere, where it kind of gives you a little bit of, of the hard rock stuff that's going to come, but it also gives you a little bit of kind of R&B and kind of funk vibes a little bit on this. It's a really interesting album, and I really love this. I love the cover. This is my favorite. I'm going to tell you right now, this is my favorite Thin Lizzy album cover. I love the front. I love the back. Oh, it's so great. But like Vagabonds, I find that the second track is the weakest. Not a bad track, but I don't know. They have this thing, for me at least, about putting the weakest track as the second track. I don't know. Not in every case, but at least on a couple albums. But Nightlife is the second track. Good track, but definitely probably my least favorite on the album. And Still in Love with You. Oh man, what an incredible song. And it's a tour de force on Live and Dangerous. But it's a bit frustrating on this album because I really like it, except for it's really terribly marred by the co-lead vocal by Frankie Miller. And I can't stand his voice. He kind of has that. His voice is annoying in that Jay Mascis kind of way, and it's so frustrating because it's just like, it's just like this. The song is like this amazing slice of cheesecake, and then the Frankie Miller vocal is like a dollop of shit right on the top of the slice of cheesecake. It's really annoying. Can somebody do one of those AI videos or audios where you replace his voice with Phil's? I'd love to hear the track with just a Phil vocal. But yeah. What else? I mean, Frankie Carroll sounds like something that could have easily been on the first couple of albums. So they kind of, they have like a foot in either pool in a way on this record. But yeah, Showdown and Dear Heart and even Nightlife actually kind of have this sort of mellow R&B vibe that I really like. A lot of really cool stuff on this. And Philomena, if I can pronounce that correctly, is a song for Phil's mom. And yeah, I think this is an underrated, truly underrated Thin Lizzy album. My favorite track, it's between She Knows, Showdown, and Still in Love with You. Still in Love with You, of course, as I said, is kind of, marred by that guest vocal, but still a great track. And it's a great Thin Lizzy album. Nightlife. All right, it's coming in number 4. Jailbreak. Yeah. Talk about a classic Thin Lizzy album. I mean, this is, of course, the most classic Thin Lizzy album there is, right? And naturally, being an American kid, this is the first I ever heard of them. Boys Are Back in Town, of course, being the very first I ever heard of them. And, but man, I mean, what is there to say about, I mean, it's Jailbreak. What do you want me to say? I will say that my favorite track in this album, my very favorite track in this album, is the title track, the opening track, Jailbreak. Yeah, you know, just like with The Rocker, it's like, you know, Thin Lizzy for Dummies. It's like, oh, what an obvious choice. You know, I'm not here to try to get all obscure on your ass. Jailbreak's the fucking best song for me. I think that song absolutely kills. What really sold me on that song more than anything was an experience I had. I was in LA, and I was in a band that was recording with a big producer, okay? He was one of the biggest name producers at that time. I'm not going to mention him. I'm not going to mention his name. But we were in the control room where the board was, and he brought up Jailbreak and just blasted it out of the studio speakers, and it was just like, holy shit. Oh my God, it had never sounded so good. And of course, it was always a great song, but hearing it in that capacity was just like, oh damn. What a fucking masterpiece that song is. And what a masterpiece this album is. Jailbreak, come on. Alright, it's coming to number 3. Johnny the Fox. Yeah, also from 1976, later the same year. So in 1976, we get both Jailbreak and Johnny the Fox. Man, they were on fire at this time. And Phil Lynott, I mean, just writing incredible songs left and right. I mean, Jesus, this is even better. In my opinion, this is even better than the Jailbreak album. And the Jailbreak album is practically the Who's Next of Thin Lizzy, huh? But yeah, I mean, come on. Johnny, Rocky, Borderline, Don't Believe a Word. Oh, man, Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. But you know what? My favorite track, or certainly one of my very favorite tracks on this album, is an amazing Dark Horse ballad buried deep on side 2. Sweet Marie. Oh yeah, God. And I love the front cover, but I really love the back. I love these images. Yeah, I'm into it, man. What do we have here in the inner sleeve? Okay, they could have done better with the inner sleeve. But man, what a classic album, Johnny the Fox. Alright, it's coming to number 2. Now, this album has at times been my number 1. It kind of alternates back and forth between this and the album I have at number 1. They flip back and forth. Currently, I have it at number 2. But man, what an album this is. Black Rose. Black Rose from 1979. Woo, man, what a Thin Lizzy album this is. So good. Oh man, of course we have Gary Moore on guitar on this one. But the songs are so good. I mean, Do Anything You Want to Do, Toughest Street in Town, Got to Give It Up. But I think one of my very favorites is my favorite, My Sarah. I love My Sarah. The last track on side 1, absolutely fucking love that song. Maybe it's my favorite, but you know what? I have a lot of favorites on this album because it's so damn good. You know, I usually don't like songs that people write about their kids. I usually just, you know, like Brandon, Motley Crue. That's obviously a really, really extremely bad example. But overall, I tend to find songs that people write about their kids to be a little kind of... ugh. But My Sarah, what an absolutely incredible song that is. And I love the video. And, you know, it's just like you watch the video of him sitting there on a stool singing to this little girl. And then at the end of the video, she comes out as a full-grown woman, and Phil never lived to see his daughter as a full-grown woman, and it just like it chokes me up to see this because I look at it, it's like, oh my God, that's actually kind of what she grew up to look like, and Phil never lived to see that. But absolutely phenomenal album, and yeah, Black Rose. All right, but my number one Thin Lizzy album. This is usually my number 1. As I mentioned, sometimes Black Rose overtakes it, but by and large, this has mostly usually been my number 1, and it is currently my number 1. Fighting. Yeah, fighting. When we have the UK original cover, and then this is the US cover. Absolutely love this album. Love this album so much. Oh man. Let me put my glasses on because I want to go over the tracks here. I should just know them off the top of my head, shouldn't I? But, well, you know. Yeah, opens up with Rosalie, Bob Seger cover. Oh, man, for those who love to live. The papers called it suicide. Oh, man, Wild One. Wild One is possibly my very favorite song on the album. I think it is. I love Wild One. The title track, well, kind of. It's Fighting My Way Back. It's not really the title track, but what a great song. King's Vengeance, Spirit Slips Away. Oh man, so many. Ballad of a Hard Man. Such a great album. Definitely my favorite Thin Lizzy album. I absolutely love this image. I love the cover. I love the back cover with them looking all badass there, like ready to kick your ass there if you don't love fighting. That's right. And if you don't love Thin Lizzy, they're gonna kick your ass, eh? All right? Yeah. Fighting! My number one. All right, that is my ranking of the Thin Lizzy albums. Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a while. Finally got around to it. Now, yeah, well, thank you everybody for watching my videos, and thank you for subscribing if you have. If you haven't, maybe consider subscribing, and if you do, click the little bell because notifications, and most importantly, come back on Thursday because Crystal Durant and Tommy Von Voigt are going to be with me in the world famous As It Should Be Studios, and we're going to be discussing our favorite albums of the year. Yeah, that year right there. I'm shooting this in advance. I don't know which week this is going up, so I don't know which year we're doing this week. But that's it. See, you see right there. All right, everybody. Thank you very much, and I will be seeing you soon.